I hope that you are well and also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today we'll be doing our grade 5 English lesson on logical transitions. So we'll be doing our grade 5 English lesson on logical transitions. And if you already look at the one word transition, it's almost like transferring from one to another. And we're going to basically find out how and what logical transitions are. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged into aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts. Grade 5. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of logical transitions. So our chapter is logical transition. The subject is that we are doing is English language arts, grade 5. And the lesson that we're going to be focusing on under the chapter of logical transition is to choose the best transition. And we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. All right, so now we're going to continue. So when we are writing, remember you're going to be writing essays, you're going to be writing summaries, you're going to be writing letters, but we're going to be writing more formal pieces, right? Specifically essays. So when writing, we need to use transitions to help the reader understand how two ideas connect to one another. So you'll have basically two ideas that you're trying to convey to the reader, right? So in order for the reader to understand how these two ideas connect to one another, you need to use transitions, or it's basically words that shows the transitions between these two ideas and how they connect to one another. And different transitions have different purposes. So we're going to find out basically the different transitions as well as the purpose for each of the transitions. For example, a purpose transitions, right? So transitions that basically makes mention of purpose. And in order to show events, so in order to show or to show the order of events in time, we can maybe use words like first, next, later, finally, after, or afterwards. And remember, this is how we, or let's say this is how the reader will be able to understand how two ideas connect to one another by using these transitions to help the reader to understand. So in order to show the order of events in time, we can maybe use words like first or next or later, finally, afterwards. To show cause and effect, we can use words like therefore, for this reason, as a result. I think you can basically do the final test for this chapter. Remember, when we do tests with each of the chapters, and then we only do like a few of the let's say the tests or the answers or question and answers. So then basically you will then do the rest. So you may do the final test for this chapter. All right, so to show cause and effect, we use words like therefore, for this reason, as a result. You're welcome. If you want to add a new example, right, or idea, so if you want to add a new example or an idea, we can use words like also, for example, in addition, and usually an addition is to add something. And to show contrast, right? Or to show the difference between two ideas, we can use words like however, otherwise, on the other hand, still. And in order for us to compare, right? So if you want to compare the ideas, compare words, or to show the similarities between these ideas, right? We can use words like similarly, likewise, or you may use the words like in the same way. The reader will then be able to understand how these two ideas connect and in which way. If you want to emphasize an idea or a point, right? So if you want to emphasize a point, you can use words like truly, especially, in fact, or you can use word like to repeat. And remember, we said that when we are writing, you need to use transitions to help the reader to understand how two ideas connect to one another, right? And to use transitions between two sentences or two ideas, you need to think about how the sentences are connected. And then you need to choose the best transition to show the connection. And we made mention of either to show order or of events, to show the cause and effects, to add new examples, to show contrast or to show the differences, to compare and show similarities, and if you want to emphasize a point, then there's certain words that you need to use. And that is basically to show that connection between the two sentences or between the ideas. If we look at an example sentence, right, it says Jason, let's go to this one. It says Jason made more free throws this season than any other player. As a result, he was voted most valuable player. And if we look at the basically the transition word, then it is as a result. And that word as a result, it basically shows the cause and effect. It shows why he was voted the most valuable player. So he was voted the most valuable player because he had more free throws this season than any other player. Or we can say because he had more free throws than any other player this season, that is why he was voted the most valuable player. So that is why we're saying that it shows cause and effect by using the transitional word, which is as a result. And by using that specific word, the reader will then be able to understand how the ideas are connected to one another. So if we use the word as a result, that is basically just us to show the cause and effect of something. It's like a transitional word. It's like a saying. It's like using the word therefore. For example, otherwise. It's like saying for this reason. So as a result, it's like saying for this reason, this happened because of something else. So which means that, like we say, Jason made more free throws this season than any other player. So it's like basically saying, so for this reason, he was voted the most valuable player. So as a result can also be another word for saying for this reason. Or he was voted most valuable player. For this reason, it's because he made more free throws this season than any other player. And that word result, right? Or the word or the transition as a result, it also shows that the writer is about to state an effect of Jason's free throw. So the effect was a positive effect, and that is why he was voted the most valuable player. So do we understand, or do I need to explain some more? All right. So basically, we have, let's say if you are writing a sentence, right? We are writing about something. So when we are writing, right, we need to use transitional words. We use transitions to help the reader to understand how two ideas connect to one another. And different transitions have different purposes. And the example that we made over here about Jason made more free throws this season than any other player, right? Here, the writer is trying to state an effect of the fact that Jason made more free throws this season than any other player, which means that the fact that Jason made more free throws this season, the effect of that is that he was voted the most valuable player, right? But now, in order to show that transition, right, so the reader needs to be able to see the transition, we then use a transitional word. And the transitional word that is being used is as a result. It's like saying, for this reason, or the reason, or this is the reason why Jason was voted the most valuable player, right? So as a result can also mean for this reason. So there's different transitional words that mean or that have different transitional purposes within writing. And that is why it is important for you as a writer to state, let's say, the transitional word in order for the reader to understand how the two ideas connect to one another. And like we say, the word as a result, or another word for as a result, is for this reason. In that sentence, the transition, it shows that the writer is about to state an effect of Jason's free throws. And that effect is that he was then voted the most valuable player because of his free throws that he had that season compared to any other player. All right. Okay, so now we're moving on. So when it once again comes to logical transitions, which is the topic or the chapter of, or the topic chapter of today, logical transitions, like we said, are, or it is a word or phrase or even sentence that smoothly and coherently join the two elements of a text. It joins or shows the connection between the two texts or the two ideas. Logical transitions or transitional words, right? It is either a word or words, or it is a phrase, or it is a sentence that joins two elements in a text, or joins two ideas within a text. And in order for us to choose the best logical transition, so choosing the best logical transition, it requires you to have a firm grasp of the skills, the theoretical skills when it comes to writing. You need to have the ability to present, justify the skills, and to persuade. And that is why, with the different purposes that we have of the transition, it's like we made an example of as a result. Another word for as a result is for this reason. For example, if we were to add something, right? If you add a new example in a text, I'm going to make a different example. If you were to add an example to a text, or you want to add a new idea to a text, right? Then you can use words like for example. So now the reader will know that you are adding an example because you're using the word for example. Or if you're just adding something, right? You're adding a word, adding an idea, then we can just use the words in addition. In addition means that you are adding something else to that thing. You're adding another idea. So you can either use the transition for example when you are making an example or adding an example, or you may use in addition to show that you are either adding an idea or you are adding something to the idea, right? So there's different purposes and there's different transitional words that goes with a specific purpose. And we see the transition, it is a word or phrase that is used to help connect a writer's thoughts or ideas. And it also makes it way easier for the reader to be able to see the connection between the phrase, the ideas, the sentences. So, an example of transitional words, it can be either after, even though, because, therefore, as a result, and so on. All right, so now if we look at the transitional words, right? Here's a few more transitional words, even though we made mention of a few transitional words, but here we have some more. So which means that if you want to add, right, another word, you want to add another phrase, you want to add another idea to the original or the already idea that you have, you can use words like as well as. This is not to show additional words that is being added. And to, furthermore, also in addition to, not only, but also, or. That is where we are adding, it's showing addition, right? We want to show contrast between two ideas or sentences. We can use words like but, however, on the other hand, otherwise, unlike, conversely. And if you want to show the cause and effect, like the example that we made, we can use words like therefore, so, because, thus, hence, due to, as a result of, reason, or consequently, and so on. Even if we want to use time and sequence, you can use words like later, after, before, then, first, second, last, next, soon, finally. So now we're going to choose the base transition. Let's just quickly go to this one. So we're going to choose the base transition. It says, Elena enjoyed the Jackson Pollock exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. She is not especially interested in modern art. So Elena enjoyed the Jackson Pollock exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, sorry. She is not especially interested in modern art. And if we basically want to show, let's say, the contrast, the difference between it, right? We can then say otherwise. So otherwise, she is not especially interested in modern art. So we then use the transition word otherwise to show the difference, or basically to show the contrast between those sentences. All right, so if we need to choose transition that emphasizes a transition that emphasizes a point, the Roman emperors Caligula and Julius Caesar both considered Alexander the Great a brilliant leader. All right, so we need to choose the transition that emphasizes a point. All right, so we see that a Roman emperors, Caligula and Julius Caesar, both considered Alexander the Great a brilliant leader. So both men made special trips to Alexandria to visit his tomb. And if we look at the correct, let's say, transition word, So they're saying the Roman emperors Caligula and Julius Caesar both considered Alexander the Great a brilliant leader. In fact, both men made special trips to Alexandria the first the, to visit his tomb. So basically, the transition word over there is in fact. All right, let's go to our test, right? Where we need to choose the transition that contrasts or that shows a difference. That contrasts or shows a difference. There's a great new restaurant as we could go to. Do we say, on the other hand, cooking at home would save us money? Or, in fact, cooking would save us money? We need to show contrast and show the difference. Contrast or the difference. So we need to either choose between on the other hand to show contrast or the difference, or in fact to show the contrast or the difference. So we need to show the contrast or we need to show the difference. So do we say there's a great new restaurant that we could go to? On the other hand, cooking at home could save us money, or in fact, cooking could save us money. All right, in order for us to show the contrast or to show the difference, we will then choose option one. So which means that there's a great new restaurant we could go to, but on the other hand, cooking at home would actually save us a lot of money. So on the other hand, so well done. The first option is correct. Well done. We need to choose the transition that emphasizes a point. So, for example, we say Ezra tries to avoid eating meals that are not good for him. So, Ezra tries to avoid eating meals that are not good for him. Do we say still he mostly eats food from his vegetable garden, or in fact, he mostly eats food from his vegetable garden, or a nearby farm? This is now us emphasizing a point. So Ezra tries to avoid eating meals that are not good for him. Yes, and we can use the word in fact, because in fact it emphasizes a point. So in fact, he mostly eats food from his vegetable garden or nearby farm. And all of us to show like emphasis, right? We can use in fact. And that is to emphasize the point. So the second one is correct. Well done. Second one is correct. Because in order to stress a point, we use the word. All right. Elena enjoyed the Jackson Pollock exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. We need to show the contrast or the difference, right? So do we say otherwise she is not especially interested in modern art? Or do we say finally she's not especially interested in modern art? So we need to contrast or show the difference by either choosing otherwise or choosing finally. All right, so if we choose the correct one, we will go with otherwise. So Elena enjoyed the Jackson Pollock exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Otherwise, she is not especially interested in modern art. And yes, otherwise is correct. Henry Ford, we need to show the transition that introduces a new example or idea, right? If we're adding either new example or we're adding a new idea. It says Henry Ford forever changed the automobile industry. Do we say specifically or do we say otherwise? He changed the way that companies manufacture cars by using an assembly line. So he changed the way companies manufacture cars. So we need to show either a new idea. All right, so we can then say We need a transition that introduces a new example or a new idea. And if we're basically either adding or introducing a new example or an idea, then we can say specifically. Let's go with specifically. And specifically is correct. That is us adding an example. So now we need to show the cause and we need to show the effect. Skin is an organ that shields our bones and muscles from things that might harm us. So it stops microorganisms from entering our bodies. Do we say, therefore, it is important to take care of your skin when you get rid of the cut? Or do we say, on the other hand, it is important for you to take care of your skin when you get cut? This is now basically to show the cause and effect. So we need to choose the correct one to show the cause and to show the effect. And to show the cause and effect, you can actually use therefore, or you can use on the other hand, but now we need to choose the correct one. Because now it says skin is an organ that shields our body and muscles from things that might harm us. And it stops microorganisms from entering our body. So we need to either choose, therefore, it is important to take care of your skin when you get cut, or on the other hand, it is important to take care of your skin when you get a cut. All right, let's choose therefore. So therefore, it is important to take care of your skin when you get cut, and therefore is correct. So well done. And the last one, we need to choose a transition that introduces a new example or idea. Researcher Thomas Mora and his team found some surprising items during a dig at an ancient Roman fort in Germany. They discovered pieces of a board game. Do we say otherwise they discovered pieces of a board game? Or do we say, for example, they discovered pieces of a board game? So do we say, for example, they discovered pieces of a board game, or otherwise they discovered pieces of a board game? And if we want to, for example, introduce a new example idea, we can say, for example, or we can say otherwise. But in this case, we're saying, for example, and we are adding an example. All right, so we said logical transitions are specific words that brings about meaning to a sentence, right? So we said that it's basically words. The transitions are words that is either used when you are making an example to show additional words, to show contrasting and the differences, right? So then we need to know when to basically use transitions based on the types of events. All right, so now this is the end of our lesson on logical transition. Thank you, grade 5s, for joining the class, and I really hope you're going to have a good day further. Goodbye.